Want to thank everybody for joining us wherever you are in the world today. Since we're virtual, you could be anywhere in the world today. It would be really nice if we could have been in Farmington, which was going to host the event, but we're virtual, or maybe on top of Wheeler Peak. But I was trying to figure out how we get 500 attendees social distance right on that small summit. So I think it's just going to be virtual today, and excited to be here. Going to introduce our panelists, which we have a great crew. You know, when you're climbing a big mountain, sometimes it's nice to have the best people on the rope with you, because there's chances are I'm going to fall into a big crevasse or two today, and they're going to pull me up by those ropes. So I'm looking forward to that. We are the Marketing Your Outdoor Community Safely in the Time of COVID panel, and that's very exciting. And want to also throw out a big thank you to the organizers. Probably all of you have been involved in putting on an event. And so Jeff Steinborn and Axie and Alyssa and Russ, this is the interactive part of our show, attendees. There's a chat box over on the right-hand side. Go over there for a moment and just give a big shout out to the organizers for what they've been doing. Let them see. Right now, I see we have close to 200 people on board. If they get 200 quick little chat emails, that would be great. So that's your way of sort of sending them a big applause, because this is a super event. And I think next year we're going to be in Farmington, which is very exciting. So again, having all of us in the outdoor recreation industry to be able to get together and chat in this kind of environment is super. So again, thank you. But I also wanted to start the session. There's a special announcement that I wanted to read to all of you, as it's kind of exciting. And I know you're going to be really thrilled by it. Since this is an outdoor forum, the organizers wanted to create a more authentic experience for the attendees. So they have decided to bring the outdoors to you. So the first thought was about sending you one of those little green air freshener, pine tree scented cardboard things you could hang on your computer, but that wasn't very authentic. So what they've done instead, through an unprecedented partnership with Amazon Prime, is that they have shipped to all the attendees a cardboard box, and it's sitting outside your front door right now, and it has an adorable mother skunk with 4 baby skunks. Now, what we encourage you to do is go out, get that box, bring those skunks in and let them roam your house. And if you truly want to sort of have the essence of nature, it will be there for you. And for whatever reason, if you feel you now need to leave the premises quickly, as Axie's noted, this is being recorded, so you could come back in your leisure in a couple of months after the scent is gone and watch this show to your liking. Amazon Prime did say that they will not be taking any returns on the baby skunks. And also Jeff Steinborn and Axie Nava said you do not need to thank them for this authentic natural environment being brought to your house. So with that, hopefully those skunks are very cute. I want to see the pictures after the event. So I am the co-director of Endeavor, New Mexico. You may have heard a little bit about it yesterday. It is the first outdoor recreation business alliance in the state of New Mexico. We are striving to be the balanced and unified voice for all outdoor recreation businesses and organizations in the state and outdoor lovers. And our mission is to expand the outdoor economy, to engage the outdoor community, and to enhance the outdoor experience. So those are some of the things that we are going to be working on. If you look on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see that you can download a PDF, a handout that says Endeavor New Mexico brochure. That will give you a lot of information about us. It has some live links where you can then click back and get more information about us. Our website is endeavornm.org, and Endeavor would not be off the ground. We're a whopping about 5-6 weeks old if it wasn't for my co-director partner Mary Ann Tenenbaum, if it wasn't for our board of directors, and I hope you will investigate as to who they are. They are from all the outdoor recreation industry segments in our state, from all over the state. And also a couple more people I want to shout out to: the City of Farmington and the Farmington Convention and Visitors Bureau for their vision and leadership, because Endeavor would not be here today if it wasn't for them. In my normal day job, I am with Once a Day Marketing. I'm a consultant that works with communities all over the state of New Mexico on various aspects of community branding, economic development, tourism, and lately a lot to do with outdoor recreation. And we were very involved with the City of Farmington on launching its Outdoor Recreation Industry Initiative, ORI as it's called. And so we do have some experience working with communities with respect to outdoor recreation, and it is our passion. So we're very, very excited about that. And a question I want to ask to each of our panelists when we launch is what was the event or the activity that caused them to love the outdoors. And I just wanted to share mine was that when I was at the University of Oregon as an undergrad in college way back in the 70s, I needed to find a summer job. And it so happens I landed at a little place called Crater Lake National Park. And as you can see from the picture on the screen right now, in my opinion, there is no more beautiful, spectacular view in the world than Crater Lake. I had a room on the lakeside of the lodge for 2 summers. I worked there for 3 summers, and that was my view every morning. So from that, I have developed a great appreciation for outdoor recreation. And now you're looking at my license plate, so it says love to mountain bike, and that is my passion. And so now I'm going to take and introduce our fellow panelists. I'm just going to mention their name and their organization first, and then I'm going to pitch it out to each one so they can then share a little overview of who they are. Wanted to mention that we have Dana Watts, the Executive Director of Leave No Trace for Outdoor Ethics on board. She's waving there. Thank you, Dana. We have Andrea Lawrence, New Mexico Tourism Department. Andrea, you there? Yep, there you are. We have Jessica Wahl Turner, Executive Director of the Outdoor Recreation Roundtable, which is a big player on the national scene, very involved in the Great American Outdoors Act. So thank you, Jessica, for joining us. We got Craig Johnson from Outdoor Recreation Program Manager from the State Land Office. Good morning, Greg and Craig. And then we have Karina Armijo from, she's the Director of the Taos Marketing and Tourism. So we're going to start right now, pitching it out to Dana, and let us know a little bit about yourself. And again, remind us where that first outdoor activity came that you started to love outdoor recreation.
Okay, sure. Thank you, James. And thank you for inviting me on this panel. I'm excited to be here. I am Dana Watts, and I'm with Leave No Trace. Officially, it's the Leave No Trace Center for Outdoor Ethics. And that might bring up the question, really, what is an outdoor ethic? And when it comes to our version, it is really a value and an instinct and a real desire to protect the outdoors. And why is that important today? And why is Leave No Trace the solution? Because we're seeing a lot of impacts, and more than ever in this time of pandemic and possibly beyond that, there's a lot of stuff going on in the outdoors, trash being probably #1, but as anyone in the West knows, fire is a huge impact, wildlife issues. So Leave No Trace is really on the forefront of addressing those impacts and equipping people with the information and the knowledge and the skills they need to empower people to make the best decisions they can to protect the outdoors. I've been with Leave No Trace for about 25 years. I was one of the actual second employee of the nonprofit. We are based in Boulder, Colorado, and I am a Colorado native. So going back to my experience itself, I don't know that I had one experience, but I had a growing up experience, and that is 5 kids jumping into a big old car with 2 dogs, and basically just getting out and going on car camping trips on the weekend. And back in the day, you didn't have to have a permit, you didn't have to have reservations. It was a little more ad hoc, and my dad would just go and we would pull over and start setting up camp. And we had a little tiny canvas pup tent. And inevitably, every time we got there, it would be pouring rain, dumping rain, and there'd be arguments all over the place. Let's get out of here, let's go back, let's get a hotel. But no, we stayed the course, and I think that was largely because waking up the next morning and the smell and the light and the birds, the sounds, everything made it all worthwhile. And so we did it over and over again as a kid, and that continued on. I never anticipated working for a nonprofit or for this kind of mission, but now as I look back, it all makes sense to me. So that's my story, and I'm really, again, happy to be here and happy to talk about how Leave No Trace can really encourage and get more people outdoors, but in a really responsible way that allows us to maintain and protect these outdoors lands that are so critical to New Mexico's economy.
Well, Dana, thank you so much for the introduction. I remember setting up a tent once and putting all of my gear, and then there was about 5 inches of rain in that tent. So I had since learned to not put the gear out until after it rains in the afternoon. All right, we're going to go next to Andrea Lawrence from New Mexico Tourism Department. Andrea, take it away.
Good morning. Thank you, Jim. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. I am the brand development and marketing specialist at the New Mexico Tourism Department. I'm going to lead off by telling you that no one who knows me now believes that I was a lazy kid, but it's really true. It took a crowbar to get me off the couch. My mother would throw me out the front door, tell me to go outside and play, and literally lock the door behind me. So I spent my youth at summer camp in Maine and New Hampshire, but when I was 14, I took my first trip to the Southwest, where we did every activity this area has to offer. We hiked, we biked, we horseback, and it totally changed the trajectory of my life. And so because of that experience, I ended up at CU Boulder, and it further solidified my persona as an outdoor enthusiast and an environmental steward. I spent most of my adult life in Colorado after falling into hospitality jobs, starting with busser, working my way up to management. I finally returned to formal education, getting a master's degree in resort and tourism management with a specialization in marketing. So 10 years in sales and operations at Beaver Run Resort in Breckenridge, Colorado meant the best of both worlds. I could have a career track and ski and hike during my lunch hour, but I craved a more diverse community, and I had a desire to make a real difference in the quality of people's lives. Breckenridge is and continues to be a mature market. It's on autopilot. When I came to New Mexico, there's so much potential here and untapped, and continues to be. So at the tourism department, our mission is to grow our state's economy through tourism, and it's a perfect fit for my experience and the coursework also that I'm currently doing in community and economic development with Penn State World Campus. So one just final thing I have to say is that it's never been so easy to find a picture of myself for a conference, for something like this. I'm usually leafing through trying to find anything of me without a helmet or a camping ponytail. And so when I was asked for an image for this audience, I was like, oh yeah, I can do that. I do believe we have a little bit of eye candy, not me, but some New Mexico True video. And whenever Russ rolls that now or after introductions, I'm happy to share that with you. So thanks for having me.
It's up to each of us to play it safe and slow the spread so we can still
safely reconnect with friends, get our breakfast burrito fix,
indulge in a little retail therapy,
or just unwind at the end of the day.
Help keep each other safe,
and our favorite local businesses open.
Make the promise at nmsafepromise.org.
Growing here isn't easy, but people have beat the odds for centuries, bringing acequias to dry land, ranging cattle in the high desert, and crafting entire histories by hand. What comes from New Mexico is durable, resilient, tested by the elements, and better for it. Support your neighbors. Buy local. New Mexico True certified.
I am a New Mexican.
These are my rivers, my mesas, my trails.
I want to take care of this place I call home, so there are always fish in the streams
and animals in the forest.
Clean streets and lush parks.
This land is a gift from our ancestors.
And it's up to us to protect it.
Do your part to take care of our home and keep New Mexico true.
Back to you, Jim.
All righty. Well, thank you for sharing those videos, Andrea. And I think I saw on TV there's a new Stay Local, Stay True, encouraging people to, instead of going off to Finland, spend their money here in our beautiful state. And I would recommend, if you really want to help the outdoor recreation industry, hire one of our guides and our outfitters and go do an experience that you're going to do in Peru and do it here in New Mexico and spend a little bit of that money with our outdoor recreation businesses. They would really appreciate it. All right, our next panelist is Jessica Wahl Turner from the Outdoor Recreation Roundtable. And Jessica, take it away.
Thanks for having me here. I think I'll start with the background on getting into the outdoors, but I was lucky enough to grow up in a really outdoorsy family with a dad who was hunting and fishing. We would hike and bike and camp and do it all. And begrudgingly so, as Andrea mentioned, I don't think I appreciated it until, until I was almost an adult. But we grew up really close to the Adirondacks in upstate New York. And I think one of the foundational memories and something that's really stuck with me throughout my career is that I didn't really see the silos in the outdoors. In Western New York, you have a very short summer. So everyone's on a boat, everyone has a fishing pole, everyone's on a bike. You have a very, very long winter where you're on skis and snowshoes and snowmobiles. And I never saw that distinction between hunting and fishing and biking and hiking and motorized. It was all just weather dependent. So that really stuck with me as I ran government affairs in DC for the Outdoor Industry Association, lobbying and conservation and recreation. And prior to that, working for the Department of the Interior in the Secretary's office for 4 years on everything from Deepwater Horizon to helping get youth outside to the Let's Move program. I really felt that the industry should be more unified and show up in a more unified voice. And that brought me to this new role as the Outdoor Recreation Roundtable's executive director. I get to see that unification and help make that a reality for the industry. So we're a collection of 32 national trade associations in the recreation space, serving over 110,000 outdoor businesses and really covering all of the activities, the full breadth of outdoor recreation activities. So we've come together, and this is, again, RV, boat, hunt, fish, bike, hike, to move the needle in areas that we can agree on. So access and infrastructure and funding for our public lands and waters, and really bring recreation and its multitude of benefits to the forefront of the national dialogue, which it hasn't always been there. So we're thinking about the industry side, but also new consumers, and we'll talk about this today, are expecting us to work together. They want to collect all these different experiences, and they don't want us and our silos to get in the way of how they play and how they explore. So we're making this recreation pie bigger for everyone instead of fighting over the slices of the pie. And that gets us to how we really show up as the $778 billion industry that you can see in the slide scrolling. We make up 2.2% of the gross domestic product in the United States, and we employ 5.2 million Americans. So this is a huge industry. And before COVID, we were actually growing them faster than the economy as a whole in every single indicator. So a lot of economists were looking to us and saying, well, if you track recreation, this is really the growth sector that we should be pushing for. Things are a little different today, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure. But we look forward to the discussion. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you so much, Jessica. We're going to move now to Craig Johnson from the State Land Office.
Hey, good morning. Thank you. I'm happy to be a part of this panel. And I was born and raised in South Dakota and had a very intense hunting and fishing family. And like Jessica, a lot of our outdoor activities were highly weather dependent in South Dakota, of course, but moved to New Mexico when I attended the UNM, and have just been hiking and biking every chance I get. In fact, people often ask me, how is it that you get out so often? And I just tell them, if you neglect all your other responsibilities and forego any semblance of a social life, you can do it too. But all jokes aside, I'm really, really happy to be leading the Open for Adventure program at the State Land Office. And just, Jim, just to provide some quick context, the State Land Office manages over, nearly 9 million acres of surface estate. And we got that when we became a state. Actually, 4 sections out of every township were given to New Mexico. Most states only got 2 sections, but because of the arid conditions here, the federal government decided we needed 4 sections to support our schools and universities and hospitals. And as the commissioner mentioned, we're mandated to care for those lands and raise revenue off of them. And we've made over $1 billion in the last 2 years, saving each taxpayer in New Mexico over $1,000 a year. And while most of the revenue is related to oil and gas, Stephanie Garcia Richard, our land commissioner, is very forward-looking and is looking to diversify that with renewable energy and outdoor rec and other revenue sources. And so when we look at the over $1 billion in the outdoor rec economy in New Mexico, we want to be a part of that. We want to contribute to that. And I'll tell you more about the Open for Adventure program and how we intend to do that. And again, just happy to be a part of this panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. and excited about what the State Land Office is doing for all of us. Now we're going to go to our final panelist that we're introducing, and that's Karina Armijo from Taos with the Taos Marketing Tourism. And how is Taos today? I bet it's gorgeous.
Oh, it's so amazing. The best time of year, although every season has got its great things for our guests, because I'm the tourism director. And I wanted to start by saying that my big event was I grew up in the suburbs, so coming out here at my early 20s, I decided to learn how to ski. And the first 2 days of lessons, I got to the top of the mountain and I was amazed at the things I was seeing, snow-capped mountains all over. And it was really amazing to think that people can go their whole life without experiencing such beauty. And that was a significant event. And then the third day I decided to go out myself and I blew my ACL. You would think that would be a traumatic experience and somebody would never go on the mountain again. But because it was such an amazing experience the 2 days prior, I really made that like an effort to go out as quickly as I could to get out after my surgery to go back on the mountain. So 4 months later, I hiked Wheeler Peak for the first time. So it really made a meaningful impact on me. And fast forward 20 years, I'm the tourism director, and I get to share the beauty, the culture, the history of Taos with our guests. So I'm very fortunate, and thank you for having me on the panel.
Well, thank you very much, Karina. And so we are going to now dive into our questions. We have several. And again, our theme is about marketing your outdoor recreation community safely in the time of COVID. So the very first question we're going to pitch to the panel today, we're going to start with Dana on this one. How do you limit tourists right now without dissuading them to visit your destination in the future?
Obviously, from the Leave No Trace perspective, it's a critical education component for anyone getting outside today. And what we know is, even pre-COVID, 9 out of 10 people who recreate today don't have the necessary skills and information they need to minimize their impact. And with 13 billion visits to the outdoors, that's a lot of people wanting to connect. And this is something that's very important also with the Leave No Trace movement, is we really believe people need to connect with the outdoors for so many reasons: adventure, health, solitude, family time. There are many positive reasons to connect with the outdoors, yet when there are so many people getting outside, the impacts are very clear and sometimes quite damaging and long lasting. So to equip people with that information, and it's a basic framework, and we often say a little bit of Leave No Trace is better than no Leave No Trace. You don't have to be an expert, but just getting on that spectrum makes a huge difference. And knowing a little bit and then learning more and more as you go is critical for people getting outside today. And we do believe that we can accept and increase numbers. There are limits to everything. And Leave No Trace, again, I want to reiterate, it's not the only answer, but it's a critical piece to this puzzle of how we can continue to actively promote these natural landscapes through tourism, through other outdoor recreation and venues, but do it in a way that's sustainable for the long term. And that's where Leave No Trace really enters into the picture. And so just for instance, when we're looking at specific COVID, we have a whole list of COVID information that's relevant for right now, and the way it's altered or possibly just differs from normal is your first principle of Leaving a Trace: know before you go. When you in some areas where you're getting outside today, especially in the national parks, you have to have a reservation, and that is new, and it's something that not a lot of people are aware of. So you can't just go to your final destination and have that same expectation. So planning ahead is really critical. And when people, especially when preparing for a trip and going to a new area, when they have that information, they've done a little research, done their homework, they're that much more prepared and that much less inclined to leave impacts from their visit. And again, protecting land, protecting the resource, protecting wildlife, and what we argue is really enhancing their overall experience. So that I believe that it's very possible to continue to accept and encourage people to get out, but doing it in a sustainable way through the Leave No Trace principles is critical.
As they say, leave no trace and take only memories.
Yeah, leave nothing but footprints, take nothing but pictures, or, you know, there's lots of versions of that, but yeah, I mean, that's the easiest way to sum it up. Absolutely.
Yeah. Now we're going to go to Andrea. And Andrea, you know, you're the part of the tourism department, you know, trying to invite people, but this question probably is very important to you guys, and you talk about it all the time.
Absolutely. This is the key dichotomy. And Dana, we are so grateful for the work that you and your organization are doing. And, you know, we have a component, Keep New Mexico True, that runs in tandem with that. But what I want to talk to specifically in terms of limiting tourists without dissuading future travelers, and I'm sure Karina can speak to this as well, what we did early on in COVID days is launch the New Mexico Safe Promise. And it is the public health order is what was effective in limiting tourists, but it doesn't go the next step to how do we not dissuade them in the future. So because we know that reopening the economy is very closely tied to individuals here being and our visitors feeling safe, we have this industry-led effort, as you can see, through the New Mexico Hospitality Association championed it, along with a coalition of tourism industry leaders, participation from corporate partners like New Mexico United, and it fills this dual role. So one of the main goals is to demonstrate that New Mexico is safe and responsible. To do that, as you saw, we've featured inspirational focused messages. They include aerial videos, virtual experience, images, and more video assets showing people enjoying the outdoors, adventuring through New Mexico while wearing masks and maintaining social distance. We partnered with the New Mexico Film Office and got celebrity endorsements from folks like Game of Thrones mastermind George R.R. Martin, along with actors from Better Call Saul, Modern Family. I have their names, but don't ask me to know them all. So for consistent and unified messaging, we took our cooperative marketing program and identified and offered recovery readiness initiatives as well, shared those with our partners. Karina is one of them. We're grateful for that. We are, as a whole, creating content that showcases, again, this new normal. We believe that masks will be with us for some time to come, and we're optimizing that creative through social digital channels, keeping New Mexico top of mind. And so newmexicosafepromise.org or nmsafepromise.org, please take it if you haven't.
Well, thank you so much, Andrea. And making sure our visitors and even our residents have a sense of confidence about wherever they go is critical. So it is important to convey to them that, hey, you can come here and ensure a safe visit. So Andrea, we're going to go back to you just for a moment on the question of what is the most effective strategy you've found for communicating public health?
So not to be confused with the Safe Promise, we also have a New Mexico Safe Certified. Definitely don't want to steal the show here, but happy for the prompt, Jim. So again, with key stakeholders throughout the industry, we launched New Mexico Safe Certified that provides free online training for businesses that need realize the required by the public health. I'm getting a little feedback. I don't know if the rest of you are. So stay local, stay true. As you can see here is our rallying cry. We were fortunate enough to get ahead of the Labor Day holiday and be able to launch an in-state campaign, encourage staycations, people traveling safely throughout New Mexico. It promotes accommodations, dining, shopping, attractions, all these experiences. There's an online directory at nmsafecertified.org and newmexico.org. Of course, again, creative assets, inspiring people to come here, engage in those adventures, be outside, and then come back and have these safe dining and lodging experiences. So we know that this is just understatement, incredibly difficult, challenging times navigating for businesses, and we really want our partners to know that we're here to support them. And again, it's our mission to bring people back to New Mexico, and that when it's safe to do so. We want more visitors and spending, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. So nearly 3,000 businesses as of this week have registered to participate in this training that will boost consumer confidence. And that's what's going to take to bring people back. We are launching a New Mexico Safe Certified Dining app coming up, so stay tuned for that. And visit newmexico.org or newmexico.org/industry at any time for updates, maps, travel advisories. Feel free to use our information on your own sites to promote safely. Jim, are you ready? Take it back.
Muted automatically. Now am I back on?
Yes.
All right, very good. Thank you for that, Andrea. And as quickly, does anybody else want to add to that question about effective strategies for marketing public health? Yeah, go ahead, Dana.
Sorry, there's a bit of a delay when you go off and on the mute. Maybe that's what you saw too, James. Not specifically to public health, but I was going to go up and say, just in terms of general marketing, what we are doing with Leave No Trace and some of the more local tourism efforts is really trying to reach people. So, and this is a little tricky again during COVID, but when people are coming to your state or to the state of New Mexico, or also residents, so it's really for visitors and residents alike, it's again working to get this messaging, this minimum impact or preparation, if you will, messaging to people before they get to their final destination. So working with some of these different organizations that traditionally we have not worked with, so Hotel and Lodging Association, Dude and Guest Ranches, the destination marketing groups that put out messaging to people. So say they make a reservation for a hotel or for a guided service or so on and so forth. And we're able to work through in partnership with some of these groups to get that messaging to people again before they're getting to their final destination. So they're coming with the proper clothing or equipment, or again, just understanding what the restrictions or permits, etc., might be in preparation for their visit. So it's just another strategy for really equipping people with the best information that they can have to make the best decisions for their overall experience and for the land.
Thank you, Dana. Appreciate that. And we're going to keep moving on our questions because we got a few more and our time is definitely dwindling here. This one's going out to Karina up in Taos. And so how has a positive public health message impacted GRT or the outdoor recreation economy in your neighborhood per se, or the state at large?
Well, our GRTs were actually did pretty well the first few months. Largest tax were obviously down, but I think part of the what I wanted to talk about is we pretty much took the lead of what the state tourism department was doing with the NM Safe certified program, and we expanded it in our own local town and region. So we knew that the data that we were getting, people, if they were going to come, they wanted to come to a safe place. So this was looking forward, and also being safe for our own community. If we were going to, order out to a restaurant, or even as we were trying to get locals to maybe go on a rafting trip with their family, that they knew that everybody was being safe. So, and this was a community effort. We had the chamber, the UNM Taos, we had private sector. Everybody was in a role to make phone calls, to contact the outdoor rec businesses as well as the restaurants and the lodgers, and asking them to get NM Safe certified. So we as a community really just decided to go full on that messaging. And we've gotten, all of our lodgers are certified, a lot of our restaurants are, and a lot of our outdoor rec tour guides, tour operators were certified early on. And I think that really helped resonate with the messaging on that this is a safe place, and that we care about our employees, we care about each other, and we care about our visitors. And I think that directly impacts, GRTs. We'll see how it goes. It's up and down, but I think that marketing strategy, as well as buying local was another big one for us. If we're going to stay at home, and it's really important to buy local instead of buying Amazon. And in that case, we also did a lot of really fun videos to encourage people to buy local and to really appreciate the things that we have in our community. So we started like local, like telling our community to appreciate the things that we have, and then hopefully in the future we can start to resonate that marketing strategy outside of Taos when we're ready and outside of the state.
Very good, thank you. Yeah, I love that buy local, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that because people won't be going to the places, and they'll be touring around our state trying to encounter outdoor recreation opportunities. I have a big question next slated for Jessica. We've been talking sort of as a statewide level here, but Jessica sort of has a sense of what's going on across the nation. So Jessica, the question that I have for you is, what are businesses doing across the country to promote their outdoor recreation products and services that you've seen?
Sure. I think it's important to note that it was a really, really difficult spring for the outdoor sector, obviously for all sectors. But in May, the Census Bureau actually put outdoor recreation as the second most impacted industry next to food and accommodation. And as we've heard today, food and accommodation is also part of the outdoor recreation sector. So we had entire supply chains disrupted, but we also had local, state, and federal public lands, which serve as the backbone of this industry, that were shuttered along with retailers and service providers. So we ran a member survey pretty much every month to see how all of these businesses were doing, with about 25,000 businesses that were accounted for in the survey. 88% had laid off or furloughed employees, 94% had seen a decrease in revenue in May. So although businesses continue to struggle with supply chain impacts and distribution impacts, we are seeing an astonishing recovery, and really that's driven by Americans' desire to be outside right now. So in the past, according to Outdoor Foundation's great survey on participation, less than 50% of Americans have had an outdoor experience every year. But this year, and as of May, 81% of Americans said they had spent time outside during the pandemic. So this is a huge jump. And if you do the math, it's about 30% of Americans are getting outside for the first time. As a habit that they hope to stick with after the pandemic. With many other services closed, they found the outdoors as a reprieve, a necessary reprieve. Also, being outside, especially camping, was seen as the safest way to go on vacation with your family because of the viral spread out there being less. Bikes and bike trails over 110% over last year. RV, power sports, boats, everything, kind of through the roof, and meeting all-time records this summer in some of the summer months. So as businesses started to see this sort of natural flock to the outdoors, they decided there was a real marketing opportunity here that maybe we hadn't foreseen in the depths of the pandemic, and really a marketing opportunity around things that we've been trying to get at for decades: new, younger, more diverse outdoor participants. And it sort of happened overnight. And really smart groups came together to not just seize on this, but to make sure that it was an authentic welcome to the industry and something that would have a tail. So this won't end at the end of the pandemic, when people can go back to their normal lives. One of the great campaigns that come out of this was the Get On Board campaign. So this was really the fishing and boating industry that came together as part of the Take Me Fishing website and Recreational Boating and Fishing Foundation's service, which is to promote fishing and boating. So they really focused on diversity, and especially women and children with this campaign. And in the summer alone, they've seen a huge wave in fishing and boating, and a lot of this can be attributed to some of this great marketing. So they had 37 million visits to this site, the Take Me Fishing site. And they only had 18 million last year. They had 37 million over about 3 months this year. So such a huge uptick in people wanting information. They had a 1,400% increase in social media engagement and 10% increase overall in residential fishing license. That's in every state across the country. So this wasn't just people visiting the website, getting information. This was people visiting the website, getting information, getting their fishing license, and getting outside. And we're seeing gear, equipment, tackle kind of running out, actually having an issue keeping those on the shelves right now, thanks to, in large part, campaigns like this. Some of the survey results they found are really interesting because they go, I think, to the broader outdoor recreation industry, anything that's happening. But 63% of those surveyed during this campaign said that mental health benefits were their appealing reason for getting out. More than 50% said that they had gone fishing during their time in isolation. So a lot of people had that experience. About 70% said they want to incorporate more outdoor activities into their daily lifestyles, even post-pandemic, because they had such a good experience. And then 4 in 10 respondents are more active now outdoors than they were 6 months ago. So I think this shows you, what the pandemic has brought about, this love for the outdoors, and that marketing can really hone in on what activities make sense for a business or community and what activities you can continue. Another great example is the RV industry. They've had, with the camping industry, the Go RVing campaign that's been very successful over the years. Again, trying to drive younger and newer buyers, which sort of happened organically over the past couple months. But instead of just taking that for granted, they're really showcasing ways that you can educate in an RV, that you can work from an RV. So they're talking about this great American road trip now that people are going abroad less and they have more time, less commute time. Spend that with your families and don't just go to those big national sites that maybe we talked about in our opening that impacted our lives so much. Go to the sites in between those sites. So what's between, Arches and Grand Canyon? What community should you check out? And that's really helping drive rural economic growth, and it's helping people stay in communities longer. So one of the things we're really focused from a marketing and branding technique is to explore all of the great opportunities there are within a community. So if you're in Moab, it's not just Arches, it's also ATVing, hiking, horseback riding, hunting, fishing, so that people stay in that community longer. So how can we drive people to these communities that maybe aren't always visited and then spread them out so that they're staying longer? And then the last great example that's been touched on is really the Recreate Responsibly campaign. So this is a group of thousands of organizations that came together and said, okay, we want people to recreate safely because COVID spread is something we definitely don't want to have the outdoors be a big contributor to, but there's also a lot of new recreationists, and how do we welcome new recreationists at the same time that we're giving them really important education tools and resources like Leave No Trace? So how do we show where you can go and then what you can do when you're there? And I think this campaign's been great. It's been used by the federal agencies, it's been used by businesses, and it's something that's really important to make sure that everyone feels welcome once they're in a place, and that this is something they want to come back to again. I think one of our fears are this 30% of Americans that haven't gone outside before that are now getting outside might never do it again if they have a bad experience. So let's continue to educate, to provide resources, to be kind and to be patient, and make sure that we're learning a lot from the new recreationists too, just as much as they're learning from those of us and those businesses who have been in this world for a long time. So I think I'll leave it at that, but there's a lot of content on those websites that would be great to check out.
All righty, I think I'm back now, yes? All right. A lot of things you said, Jessica, and it is really exciting. We've been tracking trends of what's called indoor migration, where kids are spending so many hours every day on their digital devices and so few minutes outdoors prior to COVID. So maybe this will begin getting people outdoors. We get those kids outdoors. And I think part of what Endeavor, our new organization, is going to try to do is show those kids they can have a career path in the outdoors. And I use law enforcement as an example. A kid may be thinking about a sheriff or a deputy, a policeman, but unless you tell them they could also be a national park ranger, they may never think of that opportunity to go in the outdoor recreation world. And your other point you made is the famous line about the roads less traveled make all the difference. And I think all of the communities that are listening today, making sure that if something is being over visited, how do you point your visitors into places they maybe aren't thinking about or have never seen before? And that may make all the difference. So we're going to go to our last question now to Craig, who's been standing by quietly from the State Land Office. And Craig, want to ask you this about, what is the state land office doing with respect to the outdoor recreation industry to assist communities in their marketing?
You bet. Great question. Thank you, Jim. And as the team that we have to market our state is successful and we increase visitation, I think the role that the land office and the Open for Adventure program can contribute by creating new venues and new places for people to recreate. You know, we've created these opportunities already in two different ways. We have partnership projects and we have our permit program. First, we partner with groups to develop sites and we put leases and easements and other agreements in place. And having those partnerships is huge because for several reasons, really. One, the lease or the easement earns revenue for the school kids. And two, the partner has resources typically that the land office does not have to develop and maintain the site. And three, having an easement or a lease in place for the express purpose of recreation then negates the need for the public to get a permit. Now you can talk about these permits here in just a second, but some examples that we've already done in regards to this are the Moon Mountain lease in Rio Doso, which is with the village of Rio Doso to create mountain biking trails, frisbee golf, hiking trails. And Melrose Woods is a partnership with the Central New Mexico Audubon Society. The commissioner mentioned that in her remarks. And those are two wonderful projects that we've just created here recently. I've also provided some imagery of Embudo Canyon. There it is right there. It's one of the most gorgeous pieces of state trust land, and we're working with UNM and Wild Earth Guardians to provide parking lot and access so that recreationists can get down into that canyon. It's not the Embudo Canyon in the Sandia foothills that people are most familiar with. It's the canyon in between Dixon and Penasco. And Karina, once we get that developed, that'll be another arrow in your quiver. Another project that we're working on is, excuse me, Kit Canyon, which is a world-class bouldering area near Roy, New Mexico. It's also by the more famous Mills Canyon. We're also working to create a parking lot with the DOT, New Mexico Department of Transportation, and NM CRAG, which is the Climbers Resource Advocacy Group. Again, leveraging every partnership that we can create. We've also started conversations with the Santa Fe Fat Tire Society on the Nambe Badlands, which you see there. Another gorgeous area that has been developed for mountain biking and hiking, and we've had initial conversations about expanding those trails onto state trust land. So I think the bottom line where the land office contributes is, you know, Jessica mentioned all these spots in between the big ticket areas. That's where the land office can really aid the communities in New Mexico and start growing our outdoor recreation economy by just creating new opportunities for people to recreate that didn't exist prior to Commissioner Garcia Richard establishing this program. Should also mention that hunting and fishing, we've expanded access in conjunction with the Department of Game and Fish. There's new dispersed camping areas in White Peak, which is a pilot program, as well as backpacking in the Loera Mountains. And so these are pilot programs that we expect to be successful, and if so, we can start exploring ways to expand backpacking and camping on state trust lands, not just for hunters, but for recreationists as well. So, you know, go to our website, www.nmstatelands.org. We have some of our key venues listed. I'm working hard to create some new ones and get your permit. It's $35 a year to be able to recreate on nearly 9 million acres. So I think that's a pretty good bang for your buck there. And I would just encourage all the communities to, you know, get a hold of me or look on the map and see where state trust land is nearby, because it's we've got state trust land in every county in New Mexico other than Los Alamos. So please do take a look, and if you have ideas about how we can work together, that's what I'm here for.
Well, that's very exciting, and collaboration is a big deal. I think that's what we're beginning to see all over the state, people working together on outdoor recreation initiatives, which is very exciting. So we're getting near the end. I've got one last question, a quick question for each of the panelists. This is a takeaway for our attendees today. One quick question is, what's the one thing that you recommend that they could do right now to enhance the visitation to their communities in a safe way? And so I'll just go right from the top. I'm going to go with Dana first.
Thanks, Jim. James.
That's either fine. Just call me.
Okay. I would say the number one thing is we have a wealth of resources on our website, and I want to reiterate that, or say for the first time, that we do a ton of research on messaging and what's the best messaging for people that really encourages change of behavior and in a positive direction. So we have a ton of wealth of resources, and the number one thing I would suggest is our online training, which is not only just a general training about Leave No Trace, but it's also how to communicate Leave No Trace and how to bring that messaging to various communities, for environments, different user groups, different audiences, and we can help with that too. But that would be the number one. Learn about the messaging, the Leave No Trace framework, and how to bring that and communicate that to your community. So it's a real proactive approach to protecting the land.
How about Andrea next with your 1 point?
Well, I'm going to give you 4 quarters that make one. So number one, encourage your community members to make the New Mexico Safe Promise. Ensure all your businesses and attractions have completed the New Mexico Safe Certified program. We heard it today, buy local, support your neighbors. Travelers want these authentic experiences that come with the mom and pop shops, and now it's really important. It's our responsibility to stay, dine, shop, do local whenever possible so that they can be sustained and are here for us into the future and when our visitors return. As an industry, let's use creative assets that embrace the new social norm and just make it not a thing to be wearing your mask and social distancing regardless of where you are. And take the pledge to keep New Mexico true, keep it clean, picking up litter, removing graffiti, weeding medians, sprucing up your points of entry. All these things are great ways to ensure that we can safely and successfully bring New Mexico's and
All righty, thank you. Jessica.
I would say to think about all of the new ways that people have taken to the outdoors in the past 6 months and really market clear ways that they can be active outside during the off seasons as we approach, in some places an off season, less well-known places, as these likely have better experiences and less of a spread of the virus. So I think now is the time to market these less known places more than ever before. And also knowing the values from surveys that people have who are interested in being outside and embedding that in marketing: safety, health, wellness, escape, time with family. And in doing so, hopefully we can keep the recreation economy as a whole on the road to recovery that really supports not just our businesses, but also local jobs, communities, and the national economy. And so thinking about everyone's role in that economic recovery and just a little bit of time outside, like you mentioned, maybe with a guide in New Mexico, I might consider that, can make a big difference in a local community.
Thank you, Jessica. Craig.
Thank you. Yeah, and my suggestion isn't necessarily COVID related, but I would pick up on what Senator Heinrich mentioned in his remarks, and that is to just kind of keep it simple in terms of permitting and making compliance simple for people to obey and understand the rules. We've done that with our recreational access permits by making them so that you can get them online and pay with a credit card. But there's more work to be done in terms of, like Dana mentioned, making sure people understand what the rules are before they get there and things like that. So I would just say keep it customer friendly in terms of permitting and compliance.
All right, and Karina.
I would say clear, consistent community messaging when it comes to the public health order. When you come to Taos, there's no question that we take this very seriously. We have banners and billboards and posters all over the place that it's a consistent messaging on mask up, physical distancing, washing your hands and things like that. So there's no ambiguity. You don't think, oh, I wonder if I have to wear a mask here or there. If you go to Taos Ski Valley, it's very apparent. There's, big signs everywhere. Everyone's wearing a mask, whether you're on trail, whether you're not on trail. So that's going to help a lot of the businesses so they're not felt like they're on their own during this really tough time. So as long as there's a public health order, if you have that consistent and community messaging and it's very clear. And the second thing I would say really quick, look at your community with different new eyes. We have highly impacted trails right now with all the people going out to the same trails. It's easy to tell people to go to the same places we've been telling them to go to for many, many years. But look at it differently so that we can spread the impact because we are seeing some over-tourism in some of our trails. So, and it's a fun way to, see your community differently and really take a look at some the 100 trails you have that are never used or very, very rarely used. So those are my two things.
Alrighty, and I'm just going to quickly add, from a branding perspective, if you're going to claim that you are a safe community, you need to deliver on that promise. So as people begin to search information about your community and actually engage your community, they see it everywhere. So it's very, very important because they have options, they can go elsewhere, and the more you can enhance their confidence that they should visit you, that will happen. Now, we have questions here from our audience. I don't know how much more time we will be given, but I'm just going to dive into the first question, open to any of the panelists when you hear the question. But here it is. What are some of the most cost-effective strategies to market now? Who wants to go on that?
Do you want me to take that?
Go ahead.
We're doing digital marketing. I'm getting back. Everything digital messaging as quickly as possible. Like we were marketing to. We know that Colorado was a good state for a minute, and then it weren't. So digital is it's very effective because you can turn it on and off pretty quickly. And we also had community behind us when we did posters and all of the sort of guerrilla marketing that you can do. If you can get your community to rally behind you and help you out with that, that was super effective for us.
Anyone else on that question before we go to the next one? All righty, let me read this one. The person said they're reading a lot about how the next generation of tourism will emphasize sustainable, local, eco-friendly experiences. Are you seeing these trends in your community? Again, open to anyone.
Yeah, I can go from a national perspective. We're definitely seeing the stay local, and that's what a lot of businesses have been promoting. So talking about state and local parks, maybe not those big national park trips. When governors were saying, stay local, don't travel, in the spring, a lot of people, took to the trails outside their homes. And I think in the same vein, we realized a lot of people don't have that local access. So it's definitely something from a national perspective we're looking into. If there's another pandemic or if we're asked to stay local and not travel as much again, we would need to make sure that everyone has the same access points and the same opportunities to be healthy and active outside. So definitely more of a focus on that than ever before.
All righty, well, thank you. We've been given the notice that it's time to wrap things up. So I want to thank all the panelists for being a part of this. I want to thank the organization for inviting us, and hopefully our attendees got a little something about how to market your community safely during times of COVID. And hopefully we see all of you next year face-to-face in Farmington, New Mexico. And back to you, Axie.